And how do we tell a story compelling enough to make a sale? And then we'll split up into our 6 groups. We'll give you guys a brand. We'll get you guys up. We'll do some pre-call planning. We'll think about competitors and think about how you would connect to a customer with that particular brand. All right. Now, in this, I'm going to introduce you to Soraya Morgan Gutman. All right. Soraya is featured in this TEDx talk. The beginning is a little rough. I'm not going to lie to you. Give it 2 minutes, let it settle in. But the message that she delivers in this TEDx talk is what I want you guys to consider for the rest of this semester and certainly for the rest of this evening. Think about how you connect with people. Think about who you're trying to desperately connect with. And if you need to make a connection with somebody in an instant, how you can dress them, undress them, whatever you want to say, and say, all right, I know exactly what type of person I'm dealing with. I know exactly what I need to do and exactly how I need to talk to this person. That makes sense? Yeah? All right. So let's roll into this. Let me dim these here. Think about questions that come out of this. You had a chance and you were in an elevator with Soraya. What would you want to ask her? How did she come to this type of a talk on how to connect with people?
Yes, please, Daddy.
So I want to welcome Soraya into the classroom tonight. This is an awesome opportunity. Soraya, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Thank you.
So
Happy
before,
to be here.
well, it's good to see you. Before I turn the class over to you for a bit, and I know that we have the handouts here that you would put together. Guys, when you're talking about connecting, really connecting, and we'll go over a lot of what we discussed or what was discussed on that TEDx talk. When you talk about how to connect with people in sales, in business, in life, think about what that connection point is and think about why it's so important. Think about how you connect authentically with people now, even in your day-to-day, and why that's important. I know that Soraya has come into my class, I don't know if this is the second time or third time, but she has a great message for you. And I, as an educator, was really struggling into how do I teach how to connect? Because the book this week, this reading, talks a little bit about personality types and how to connect adaptive selling. But how do you connecting with people? How do you really look at somebody and say, all right, I know how I can connect with this person. I know how I can connect with this person quickly. Because in sales, that's what you have to do. So I'll turn it over to Soraya. If you guys have any questions about that TEDx talk, about what you saw, about why this talk is so vital, feel free to ask her some questions. We have about 10 minutes, if that's okay, Soraya.
Absolutely.
Pass over to you. Thank you.
My pleasure. So you saw from the video that I'm half Egyptian and half German, and the methodology that I have created, I wasn't able to articulate it, as I said, when I was younger, but it has really proven to help so many people. Now, I'm going to show you a picture, and you tell me who you think this is. Can you see the picture?
Yes.
Can anybody guess who that is?
Yeah.
Who is it? He was assassinated.
Yeah.
Sadat.
Yes, Anwar Sadat. You see his arms? Okay, now can anybody guess who this is?
Angela Merkel.
Yes. Now, between this person and this person, who would you rather have a beer with?
First.
So, but it, you know, it really is telling. And the interesting thing is, of course, Anwar Sadat is an Egyptian and Angela Merkel is a German. But the methodology can be used on absolutely anybody of any background, of any age, of any temperament. I'm brought into large corporations, small businesses, and even the U.S. Military, and to teach this methodology. That's how important it is to be able, as I've said, to be able to connect powerfully, quickly, but most importantly, authentically. You will have handouts, and you know, a little task I could offer you to consider is, you know, take a look at which one are you. Do you have an idea? Can somebody share? Can you raise your hand if you think you're a German? Just based on the talk?
Probably 10 of them.
Hmm?
We have probably 10 folks that raised their hand.
Okay, good. What about Egyptians? Do we have any Egyptians? How many?
I'd say 20.
20 Egyptians and 10 German? Interesting. So you'll have the handout and you'll be able to see a little bit more about yourself. I believe this, and I know Zeva does as well, that you cannot authentically connect to anybody unless you truly know yourself, know thyself. And so knowing yourself will, number one, put you in a position where you can better connect with someone else. By being aware, for example, all 20 of you Egyptians, you are more like Anwar Sadat, right? You use your arms, you're vivacious, you're big picture. Well, if you're trying to connect with somebody, let's say in a sales environment, and you will be able to have in your back pocket the ability to, just by observing them in literally 2 seconds by their body language, whether they're an Egyptian and they're German. And if you can see that they're like Andrea Merkel, right? Like their body is closed, they're reserved. You want to make sure to watch how you react to them. Because the fact of the matter is, I'm sure many of you know this, it really just takes a few seconds to make an impression that can last for years. And that impression should be a positive one. And the best way to have a positive impression with somebody is understand how's the best way to connect with them, because body language is more than 55% of how we connect with people. The words that we say, like we in sales, we always want to say the perfect words. It's like less than 7%. So body language is really crucial. And knowing who you are, the beautiful thing about this is that you can do it in real time. If you're just observant and you watch their body language, and then if you can mirror that, then you will be able to at least get to the first place of being able to truly connect. And you know, you can do this not just in sales, but in relationships as well. And I would task you to consider practicing, you know, with somebody in your family, maybe, or somebody you trust or you like, or your roommate or your friend, you know, and just practice this German Egyptian body language with them and kind of see how that works.
Soraya, I have a question for you. And it's come out in the first couple of weeks of this class, so I figured I'd ask you, can you dive a little bit deeper into your definition of authenticity or authentic? When we defined what sales was, there was smattering of different answers. We had, building trust. We had, what was the word you used today? Intuition. Who else? What were some of the other words we used when we defined sales? Empathy. So when you're talking about connecting authentically, in my role in sales, it's how do you connect to that customer that's sitting behind a desk? So if you could just define what you mean, and when you did all of your research, connect authentically. What does that particular word mean? And then how do you dovetail that into, how do you figure out what the commonality or what that connection is to that person?
So, I mean, that's a very good question. And to be authentic means to be truly true of who you are. Now, but understanding, I love what everybody said because I agree with it. In particular, the empathy aspect, where you have somebody behind a desk that you're going to have to see within a few seconds what kind of person they are. And that's where the empathy goes in. You're there to connect with them and make them feel comfortable. So knowing if they're Egyptian or German by viewing them and watching their body language is going to be very helpful to you. So for example, if you see that they're an Egyptian, like they're moving their arms a lot, they have pictures of them playing baseball, or, you know, these are visual people. And so if you are an Egyptian as well, I would focus on really honing in on something that is true to you and that you can connect with them, knowing that they are, no matter what their nationality or age, they're an Egyptian. Because Egyptians don't like to talk business first. They always like to build a relationship, see if they like you. Whereas if they're a German and let's say you're an Egyptian, you can still be authentic, but you have to watch your body language, because you know what most people don't realize, and the reason most people lose rapport, especially in sales or in any relationship, is because they're focused on themselves. What do I want to say? What do I want to accomplish? You know, what do I want to get out of this? As opposed to, I love, again, the empathy. What is kind of person is this person? And guess what? Now that you know about the Egyptian German aspect and you know how important body language is, you need to have self-control. And even if you're Egyptian, you look at them and you're quiet and you just wait and see what they're going to say, because Germans like to feel in control. They don't like a lot of chaos. They're not relationship focuses as very highest priority. They really just want to kind of get to business. And the best thing would be just to be silent, smile, and wait for them to make the move, whether it's shaking a hand or whether it's actually speaking. And then once you've made them feel comfortable, then you hone in on something that you can have a connection with. So I'm a Christian, but I have clients that are Buddhist, that are Muslim, that are Jewish, that are Christian. They know who I am. So I don't pretend to be what I'm not. They know what my values and my beliefs are, and they also know that I'm there to help them get to the next level, and to help them be the best person they can be. So I'm authentically a Christian. And you know, I'll never change that. And the important thing also to understand is when you're trying to connect to somebody, it's okay, by the way, if you repel them, if it's not a fit. That's a positive thing. You know, you want to either attract someone or you want to repel them. It's good to repel too, because you're not going to be, if you try to be everything to everybody, you're nothing to nobody. So, you know, it's okay not to be a fit too, because then you can move on. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, we got a question here for you.
Yeah, what do you do, like if you, as you said, like if you repel them, what is there that you could do other than just moving on? What are the steps that you try to do to build that relationship if they're opposite than you?
So you can be opposite and you can still be a fit. You know, what I've actually found is that if you add a German and a German, 1 + 1 can equal like 4, because you know, they're of like mind. But if you add a German and you combine a German and an Egyptian, 1 + 1 can equal 24, because they're using very different sides of the brain. The important thing though, and this is key, that they have to have at least the same foundational principles. Otherwise, it's really a clash. And so, for example, I can tell you in my experience, the people that I definitely repel and that are not a good fit, for me, just personally, have been atheists. And in my business, I'm a business advisor. So the reason I have never been successful with atheists is because they think they can do it all. And they don't have that humble understanding that your business is not based on all about you. It's actually based on the people that work for you. And it's really important to get counsel from wise people. So when I won't know they're an atheist very often until we've had a couple of conversations. So what I do is I let them know my belief system. I let them know my philosophy, that as the best leaders are those that are humble, because they're the ones that are going to make or break your company. And that really the best type of business owners and leaders are the people that are willing to look in the mirror and say, what can I do better? As opposed to very often the people that put the window down and say, well, I'm not successful because of those lazy employees. I'm not successful because of that. That's a good repel for me, because I could never work with somebody like that and help them. And actually, I would probably lose my business advisors if I put a client like that with them. So again, body language, understanding who they are, connecting. That from my perspective, it doesn't always happen on the first conversation, which is why I personally never take a client on unless I've had at least 3 conversations and I've had 2 other people talk to them. That's how important it is to really make sure that it's a fit. But again, if it's a repel, what I'll do is I'll thank them. I'll see if I can recommend somebody else for them. And then I usually send them a note in the mail. And sometimes I'll send them some fun gift just for fun. So did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
It's an extremely important distinction in sales. It really is, whether you're talking about this type of business or whether you're talking about business to business or B2B or B2C, whatever channel you're talking about, it's going to happen. You got to know when to walk away. You got to know when it's not going to work. You got to know when the relationship isn't there and how you build on it. Soraya just gave you a great point. Thank them. Smile and gratitude.
Hi, Soraya. Thank you. I love, maybe you can see me in the corner. I really love your message and thank you for speaking with us tonight. I'm just wondering if you have any advice on, I guess we're talking about this from our perspective of how to kind of talk to a client or how to talk to someone you're working with and make them like you, or, you know, make them want to continue to have a conversation. How would you say that you can kind of get past biases and them having a negative first impression of you like we do so often, or just really people that aren't open-minded. Like in your TED Talk, for example, the first 2 minutes were really different. You were showing off different kind of like cultural backgrounds and things like that. And people might have judged you for that, but you really made a turnaround. So I'm just wondering if you have any advice for, I guess basically dealing with closed-minded people or handling first impressions.
So you're probably not going to like my answer. I wouldn't judge that someone is closed-minded when I first meet with them. I'm going to expect the best. I'm going to expect that they are so excited to meet with me. And I'm going to expect that I was meant to meet them. Now, whether we work together or not is a separate thing. But that's the mentality I have every time I'm having a new prospect, is they are going to love me. And I am going to learn and, learn something and enjoy them. And that is the mentality that I bring in. Now, as you can probably guess, let me just see if you can guess. Who can guess, even though I'm a real, hybrid, who can guess which personality type I'm actually stronger in? Right. So I have to control myself when I'm around, and I have, like, I've been in the men's world most of my career. I worked in Manhattan for like 11 years, and I was very rarely, there were other women at my level. So, I know how the game works, and I have worked with many men, many women that were so not nice to me, to put it mildly. And I will share with you a quick story that I think might give you a good idea. So I was at a position at a company, it was a technology company, where I really liked the president, and he and I really worked well together. And then they brought a chief financial officer. And this chief financial officer, he was checking all the heads. I was head of, it was either sales or corporate communications. I don't remember at the time. I think it was corporate communications. And he said, he wanted to have our numbers. And so, doing the spreadsheet thing, I wasn't great at it. And I know that I wasn't. It was definitely a weakness of mine. So I gave it to him, and he publicly acknowledged to everybody that I had the worst. Like, mine was the worst. And, I went and I talked to him in his office, and I said, that's not how we react in this company. I agree that it wasn't good, but we don't do that in public with everybody. There was no need to do that. And he said, well, yours was the worst. I mean, he was a real hardcore German. And I said, okay, well, thank you. I just wanted to share that. So I went home to my husband and I said, you know what? I want to quit. I'm going to quit. This guy's horrible. I'm going to quit. And my husband said, you know what? Here's what I'm going to say to you, Soraya. You're going to have somebody, you like 99% of the people in the company. He goes, I like maybe 5% of the people in my company. He goes, you're going to have these people again. I'm going to challenge you to like turn it around. And, he's my husband, and I was really upset at the time, like he wasn't on my side. So I was in a very grumpy mood, but I decided to take the challenge. And I realized that he was a German. And what I had decided to do was, he and I, with 5 other people, every Monday had a big board meeting. And I was anally always early. I went to work at like 5:30 in the morning, 6 o'clock. And so that I could get all my work done, and then I could play and have fun and socialize, for like the next 5 hours. So that was my little secret. And so, but unfortunately, he was an early person too. So we both obviously were the first 2 people at the board meeting. And when I was talking to him, I had noticed that he had some weird looking dogs on his pictures of dogs in his office. And I thought it was extremely strange that he was married, and I know he had kids. I didn't see any family pictures. So again, I told that to my husband. He didn't like, he blew it off. But we sat down, and then now it was a big board table, and he sat on one side. Where would you guess that I sat? Who can guess?
The exact side.
The other side?
Yeah.
Okay, no. I actually went next to him. I sat right next to him. And I said to him, I see you have some interesting dogs on your wall. I've never even seen those kind of dogs before. What are they called? And all of a sudden, his eyes just beamed. But when I said that, I kept my body language very close to myself. In other words, I didn't overwhelm him because he was already uncomfortable. Like maybe I didn't use deodorant. There could have been something like that going on. I don't know. But he definitely didn't want to be near me that close. But I sat in the chair right next to him. I was very aware that he was a German. So I kept my body language very stiff. And I asked him in a very matter-of-fact way about the dogs. And he told me, well, they're called Vizslas. They're Hungarian pointers. And he said, they're really amazing dogs. The American soldiers saved them from Hungary during the war. And I kind of found that interesting. So by the time everybody else had come into the room, what do you think the atmosphere we had? Was it better or worse? Better. Now, do you think that we became best friends?
No.
No, but I was able, by my husband pushing me, to really focus on understanding that he was a German and that there was a way to connect with him, and that it really had to be me removing my pride and just really knowing that he's a person of tremendous value and I better make it an effort to see it. Well, that was 15 years later. And by the way, I have dogs. And do you know what kind of dogs I have?
Vizslas.
2 of them. Best dogs in the world. So, did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
All right, we're gonna take one more.
Hello, how are you? Thank you for coming. I have a question. Since technology is changing and selling is changing via Zoom, over the phone, how do you connect with someone with technology?
You know what? It's a lot harder. I always try, if I'm going to have a Zoom, I always try to have a phone call first real quick, just to kind of warm them up. And it's very difficult, but I also don't believe that it's possible to have really big sales strictly by Zoom. I mean, of course, there could be some, B2Bs, international things like that. But again, it doesn't matter what country someone is from or what their background is. If I was going to assume, it's much harder to judge the body language. But what I would do is I would ask them before we start the meeting if it would be okay if I could just ask them a couple of questions to learn about them. And almost everybody agrees to that. And by my questions, I'm able to watch how they move their body and how they respond to my questions. And that will help me, but that's about the best I can do. I don't know if that was very helpful.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you guys for the questions. Appreciate it. Hope you got something out of this. And I always do, Soraya. Thank you so much for coming into the effective selling class tonight.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
My pleasure. And you have a remarkable teacher with Zev. I'm asked to do this quite often in different places. And I always say yes to Zev because I admire what he's doing for the next generation. And I hope you give him like the best teacher award.
Thank you. Thank you for the gift of the TEDx talk that you did, because that's the gift that keeps on giving. Appreciate you.
Bye,
Thank
guys.
you. All right. Have a good night.
You too.
All right. So vitally important. Think about what we just discussed here. All right. We're going to deconstruct this in a few minutes. But what did you guys feel as though, what was the connection? We watched a 21-minute TEDx talk by Soraya Gutman. What was the connection?
She's just incredibly authentic. Like, I just feel like she's just really being herself.
All right, dig a little bit deeper, because the book wants me to go over this bullshit. And go over high social ability, low social ability, this whole continuum, right? That's what you guys read in chapter 5, correct? But the key to adaptive selling is this. Right, so what was the connection? What was the adaptive selling connection point in that talk?
So I think that she keeps her own core values very strong, like she was saying with her Christianity, she's able to stick with that and that's authentically her. But then she also adapts her body language based on if she judges a person as German or Egyptian on the first meeting with them.
Okay, yes, but there's still one more word that I'm looking for, yeah. So body language is key, humanity, what else?
Mirroring, like making them feel comfortable so that they can open up, like disarming them. That word disarm is I've never been using this situation, but I think it's really effective.
100%. If you now think about it from a sales perspective. So hold on one second. I'll get to you guys. Think about it from a sales perspective. You're supposed to be a light of shine. Like when you walk into an office, somebody might be having a terrible day. Your customer might look at Autumn and say, I don't need this passion today. It's too much for me. I can't. You're going to have to deal with this client. You're going to have to deal in real time, right? And figure out a way, how do you connect authentically with this person that realistically doesn't want to see you that day? How then do you, as a sales professional, adapt and try to sell to this person? Parker.
And listening and being cognizant of the other person.
Yeah, listening, being cognizant of that's too easy. That's what the book wants you to say. Dig deeper, right?
I think she narrowed down like to like either German or Egyptian, and she's just like simple. And so she knows what to read, and she comes off as simple, so she gets your vibe, and from there she starts building like a bias towards you and you towards her at the same time.
She can look at you, Parker, and know within 1 second, what do you think you are, German or Egyptian? Okay, so she'll know within 2 seconds, all right, this is how I need to talk to you. This is what my message is gonna be like to you. She's gonna be able to do this thing that the book says in 17 different pages in about a second. Seriously. And that's what exceptional salespeople do. They're able to take this information that she gave you in this TEDx talk, boiled it down and say, all right, I know Sal Napoli. I know what he's all about. I know that he's an Egyptian. I know that he's going to do it, right? You saw him last week, right? You saw how he presented. Is he a German? No. So you know how you can go up if he's your customer. So you get two different ways, two different types of people that are out there. She's boiled down basically every single human into two different sets. And this is where, as sales professionals, you can kind of start to formulate a game plan based around who your customers are. If you're a football player and you're doing an offensive play sheet, this is how you say, all right, pre-call plan. I met with this guy or girl before. This is who I have to do. I know that this person is an Egyptian. I know that they're going to want to talk to me about relationships and all this other stuff. I know how to formulate a plan in order to go in there and sell to this person. Right? So I asked her this question about authenticity and being authentic because people define that differently. People can define how being authentic is in a different way. I thought her definition was fantastic. Being authentic to me is just being who you are. What are the values that each of you were brought up with? How do we build empathy? How do we build trust? Those are all things that we take for granted. Those are things our parents instilled in us, our schooling instilled in us, our religious, if you guys are religious, instilled in us. That goes towards who you are as a person from an authentic way. Connecting in real time. Extremely vital in sales. Sometimes you only have 30 seconds to make impact, which is why we do elevator pitches here. Because as you guys will see when you go in front of clients, your first words matter. Your first words and what you say to a client matter. How you come across to people matter. How you project to people matters. More so than what you think. It's what they think. And I love this part. You know, connecting authentically while disarming. It's an easy way to think of, all right, I got this person in front of me. How can I desperately connect with them? I love the fact that she brought body language into this. And think about this. You guys will have customers at the end of the semester. And these customers are going to be vastly different. They could be a driver, there could be an amicable guy, there could be somebody that's gonna try to throw you off your sale, there's gonna be somebody that's gonna hold your hand through the sale, you don't know what type of customer you're gonna have. Hopefully tonight will give you a little bit of a basis as far as how do I take their body language? How can I connect with them? And what are some steps that I can do in order to look at them and say, all right, this is a German, this is an Egyptian, and carry that through your sales calls. When I taught this course the first 2 semesters, I did not know how I was gonna teach this chapter in particular. Because if you read it in the book, it really is kind of weird, honestly. You know, it talks about high social, but nobody goes by that anymore. And I could tell just from my students that it wasn't landing. And so when I went back into the lab that summer and I was like, I just said, how do we connect to people with Google? And I was doing YouTube. She came up. And I think it's an extremely powerful message to say, all right, this is how we can break people down. This is an easier way to talk to you guys about adaptive selling and how you guys formulate connections quickly. Right? Anything you guys have right now is a connection point. Anything, what you're wearing, your hair, my lack of hair. I've said that 7 times in this class already, and it's only been 3 classes, but everything is a connection. Now, I'll go back to my original question that I asked over here, and I had some people, what was her connection?
You gotta be versatile.
Nope. What was her connection point?
The dogs,
Oh, her connection.
Yeah,
being humble,
kinda.
being a bit of both, so she can connect with everyone. She's a bit of a German, a bit of an Egyptian.
Okay,
When I was watching the video, it reminded me of what you said the first day in class about being a chameleon. And then she's talking about having empathy. So just trying to, I guess, put herself in their shoes and then, you know, taking what she learns from them instantly and kind of spitting it back out at them.
all right. So Dom, we talked about this earlier tonight about being Neo and seeing the matrix. And Sally, you're exactly right. You got to be a chameleon in each of these situations. Think about your friends. Is every one of your friends the same? Do you interact the same way with each one of your friends? Do you interact the same way with each one of your buddies? No. You know, I don't. Why?
It's different.
So how do you adapt to each personality? How do you adapt to each one of your friends?
Basically, higher connections that you have with them.
All right, let me ask you a question. Can you guys stand up right here? Come up really quickly. It's come into the middle of the room. Anybody, I need one more. Can I borrow you? Yeah. So stand up, come around a circle. Now, we're at Bentley. Where do you guys go off? Where's a good party spot?
Tacos.
Where?
Tacos.
Oh, God, this is too loud. Okay, so you guys are all intermixing, okay? Now, good, pretend that you're at Jocko's. I'll turn off the music. Can't talk anyway, so you're probably just staring at each other because it's too loud. Now, I come into this conversation. Right? You ever have anybody that kind of just shuts you off? That turns their back? Right? Hello? You know what I mean? Like think about that from a personality perspective, from like, what is that doing?
Closing you off from the
It's-
conversation.
Okay, it's closing you off from the conversation, or we can sit, that was a good, but you're getting closed off from the conversation. What else? Sorry. What else?
Can you repeat the question?
What, in that situation, you're out.
Yeah.
Right? We're trying to connect with people.
Yeah.
You go into a situation, people aren't allowing you in. They're kind of putting you off, they're closing their back, they're not letting you into the conversation. Why?
They don't know you yet.
They don't know you. What else? They haven't what?
Acknowledge.
They haven't acknowledged, you haven't formed a connection. Right? You haven't been able to kind of get in there and talk or interject. What else?
They don't want to know you, they're having their own conversation.
They don't want to know the professor of sales. Are you, come on now. What?
Maybe it is about a private matter that they are talking about.
At Jocko's? What matter is that time? Usually you're not there until 11 o'clock at night, but okay.
Maybe they don't know like your intention, they might not be like comfortable with you.
All right.
you're in a public place and your armor is up, you're kind of, you're guarding a little bit.
All right. So All of these are ways that you have to kind of be a chameleon in that situation, right? That's a sales opportunity. I love those moments. Happens all the time, right? I live for those moments. I'm like, all right, you're gonna turn your back on me. I'm gonna try to get in there some way, right? But every relationship that you guys have is a sales opportunity. You need to start thinking along these lines as you go forward, as you go outside of Bentley University, as you guys mature and have jobs, right? Have responsibilities. Every interaction that you have, you should be able to break down into these two specific categories and think about ways that you guys can connect, be adaptive, sell in an instant. You had a question.
Yeah, I was gonna say that one thing that stuck out to me was helping people thrive, finding a way that if it's, you know, being more like an Egyptian and being loud and connecting with them more. And
Alright.
that's how they thrive, but it's just finding a way like that they're gonna feel the most comfortable.
All right. So I told you guys in the beginning of the evening at about 6:31 that we were going to dovetail this well into storytelling. Right? So we saw a way that you can connect authentically with people. Right? I'm going to show you a quick video here, and I want you to pay attention to how this story goes. He's the best. Think about it from a storytelling perspective. Like, what did you guys get out of it?
He told a story. I love him because I'm also Italian. So being Italian and him telling the stories, like it reminds me of my grandmother or my grandfather. And it just feels like I'm in the moment or like much more connected because of this like story and the connection, I guess.
About how he made things come to life. He's talking about a doorbell. Right? How do you make things come to life? How do you make the simple pop? There's some ways that you can connect with the audience. And how do you connect with a customer? What was his connection point with the audience?
Like humor or shared experience.
Shared experience, right? Humor. What else? Body language, right? You felt it, right? You were in the moment. You felt like, okay, I love the part when he was like, oh, shut off all the lights, right? Because that happens, right? What else?
His enthusiasm.
His passion, his enthusiasm to being in that moment, to give the audience that experience. Same thing as a sales call. Comedians are the best salespeople out there. They have to stand up in front of hundreds of people, and he sells out stadiums. His job is to make you laugh. His job is to sell you on these jokes that he comes up with and these stories that he comes up with. What else?
Going off that like tone and pitch of voice.
Yeah. How he sounded, right? What else?
I agree with Sal where it made me think of my own family and it was relatable in the sense of how we've all changed together too throughout time of it used to be normal and now we're like, I don't know, hermits on our phones.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
Facial expression, the thing that he made.
yeah. Facial body language, facial expressions all play a role in sales and selling and how you connect with people. Now, was Sebastian a German or an Egyptian? See, you guys are learning. Quick learners in the effective selling class, right? Yes. Yeah. Complete Egyptian. Think about how your story interacts with your customer. So starting up over here, let's do count 1 through 6. Make sure it's. Yeah. Start there. We'll go all the way around. We'll come back this way. We'll go this way. End with you. Okay. Go for it.
2, 3,
4,
5, 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
1,
2,
3,
4,
5.
6,
1, 2, 3, 4,
5, 6, 1, 2, 3,
4,
5.
6, 1.
Okay. 1's over there. 2's over there. 3's over there. We're gonna do 4's over here. 5 is over here, and 6 is congregated this way. All right. This is a better way to teach about adaptive selling, right? Right? All right.
Should we bring our makers with us, or is that just for us to keep?
Keep them right there.
That looks good on the floor. We're back together. Yes. Bye. Bye. Bye.
You guys should wait.
Okay, yeah, that works. I think somebody said earlier, see, people would be, that's selling it.
Yeah.
All right, get in your groups, let's do this. We got a few minutes before Nick Richardson of the Texas Rangers is gonna come in and answer some questions for you. You need a seat? We'll give you the big one.
I'd rather stand, to be honest.
You can semi-stand, sit.
I'm good. It's fine, I'm good here.
Semi-stand, right? All right, group 1, group 2, 3, 4. Where's 5? 5, 6, okay. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna tell a story. All right, you guys have 15 minutes. I want you to craft a story on these brands. All right, here are your brands. Okay. What story can you tell? How do you connect with your customers? All right.
What? No, I was at 6. I know. Yeah.
10 minutes on the clock.
I mean, like,
You tell. Based on these brands right here. Who's been to Shoppers? You guys talk about the salt. Joey's gonna be coming in here to talk to you guys at some point this semester with some pizza, which is always a great night.
Oh.
All right, 10 minutes. What's your story? How do you connect? What's your sales message?
It's like older. Yeah, or even just like. I'm not.
Good.
Is that road? Yes. Yeah, like choose. But it's like a hard mess. Yeah. Like a big like super. Like I have that in the city of I don't know. I feel like the service like they're like often one of the most diverse cities. If you're celebrating. Lots too. Or if you're like not on a beach, or you behind you of stuff of them. Like we can be yeah, like our environments. Just like shots.
Yeah.
We were also. Try to say something on like doorbell thing, like. Worth so much down the road just by having a beer on a Thursday night. No, like.
Yeah. Like I feel like if you're not. So well known, it's like. Yeah, so maybe that's not now. I think it's pretty thought out like going to class, time watch.
Yeah, so saying. Say yourself. What do you know, guys?
Big and I think that's the time I went down with my summer and all about like.
4 minutes. 4 minutes.
Yeah. And we talking about. Having sandwich from Publix. Is there anything you want us to like? Maybe make us say now. It's like, I want to grab my bag. Knowing
Really?
Yeah.
All right, we got 1:55 left on the clock. You're good? China. All right, 1 minute. We'll go right down to it. You wanna go?
I will.
I've been getting terrible sleep. Try.
I know what I'm. I'd be like now.
All right, 1 minute left. 1 minute left. Nick, we're coming right to you. We're deconstructing.
No, it's good.
Deconstructing these brands real quick. What's the story behind these brands? If you can see my screen. 40 seconds. It's ready to rock and roll. I feel you. All right, let's bring it in. Let's bring it in. All right, so let's do this. Let's see where we're at. Let's go. Let's share our screen so our illustrious guests can see where. All right, group one. Why don't you guys come on up to the front? Oh, come on now. Come on up. Group one. Tell your fellow students here, what is your story behind the Hoka brand? I know.
All right, so when I was a kid, I was always running around. I loved to run on jetties. You know what jetties are? They're like a bunch of rocks out of each other into the like ocean. I would just sprint down them. As a kid, I could do that, no problem. I was agile, I was fast, I had all the energy and confidence in the world. Now I'm older, I'm a little more cautious, and if I don't have supportive shoes, I'm not gonna be doing that. I'm not gonna be running like full speed ahead really anywhere, but especially not the jetties. But with shoes from Hoka, you can design them to be more form-fitting, more comfortable, they have more support. And with the support of the Hokas, I can have the confidence of a kid and run as fast or as quickly as I want to.
So what was the story behind this brand?
Little kid, support, shoes, pick and fall.
So visually, what did you guys take out of this? Running on the jetties, right? Needed more support for the shoe, right? What else?
Confidence of like a little kid again in these shoes.
Confidence of the little kid, yep.
I mean, like, I took it this way, but like, as you're older, you start hurting and you run around and focus, offer good support to help your knees.
All right, who else? Awesome. All right, so we'll deconstruct that in 1 minute. Great job. Group two. Group two.
I believe they can size. It's stuck on the chair.
All right, group two had Ann Taylor.
Oh, yeah, favorite brand. I had to look it up to remember.
All right, what's the story behind this brand?
So to set the scene, imagine it's your first day or your first week in the office. You're not feeling very confident. You just finished a long day of work. You're tired. Your boss got frustrated with you because you messed up something minor that you didn't really think that was a big deal, but he thought it was a super big deal. And you walk outside and it's pouring rain. Now you look ahead and a beautiful woman catches your eye and you're kind of like, what does she look like? Like, what is she wearing?
So she's wearing, picture this, she's wearing red leather boots, zipper on the side. She's wearing tan suede pants. She's got cashmere sweater on. She's walking through the rain. Feels like the rain doesn't even touch her. You know, she looks unstoppable. So you look to your right and you see in bright lights this Ann Taylor sign. You see women streaming in and out of the store and you just stop and you're like, I need those clothes. I need them. And you have this instant kind of confidence from seeing that woman right in front of you, from seeing those women stream in and out of the store. And you go in and you're just a whole new woman as soon as you step in there.
The next day you step into the office, you feel on top of the world. You're a 10 out of 10. It doesn't matter what your boss says to you today. You know the outfit is on point. So by Ann Taylor, feel confident, ladies. Feel confident.
Visually, did you guys see where group two was going with Ann Taylor? Yeah. Right? What's the story? Like you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 letters up there, but there's a story behind it. Right? Visually. That's what we're trying to get to. All right, thank you, group two. Group three. La Colombe. And I hope that you're presenting this knowing how much you love coffee.
like the little bit ones.
Mike, let's go to the story.
You little skit.
Okay, sure.
Dom wakes up at 7 AM, alarmed, dazed, and confused. He's out on Moody all night with the boys.
10 minutes, I don't even know what a debit and credit is.
Completely forgotten about his final. His knees are weak, his arms are heavy.
No coffee left.
All he can think about is
You
his
count on
final.
all that is.
Goldie, we don't got time for dunks. Feel the love of real coffee. Here's some of Columbia.
Quick and easy, on
Let's
the
go,
go,
ready to go.
ready for his final.
Good morning, commercial, that's not bad. What's the story? What's the story behind it,
A quick and easy way to get yourself up.
right? What else,
We've all been there. We have those mornings.
right? Connected, yeah.
The story is like, you wake up tired, big test, big day, but once you get your coffee, you're back and you're ready to go.
Love it. All right, thank you, group 3, group 4. Drop this thing out there. Sure, if you have to.
Yeah, I think.
The professor still doesn't swear in this class, but if you need it, go for it.
It's a Thursday night, you've been arguing with your roommates the whole week, and you can't get out of your dorm quick enough. Fuck it, let's go to Shoppers. You walk into the bar and you're immediately met with a diverse group of people. So you walk right up to the bar and you get a little liquid courage, and then you see it, the karaoke machine. Your best friend and your greatest enemy at the same time. And as the night progresses, you get more and more confident in yourself. And then you start finally singing your go-to karaoke song, New York, New York. And hopefully it's a night you won't remember.
And we've all been there too. Liquid courage makes me sick and dance apparently. So good story. Group 5.
Okay, so everybody close your eyes for just a minute. Picture you're a year or two from today, you're out of college, you just moved into your first apartment in Southie. You made it through your September 1st move-in day, couches thrown out the window, the chaos of having to accept that you're in the real world now. You make it through your first day of work and lunchtime rolls around and you're like, where are my friends? Like, I can't meet them at La Cava for lunch anymore. You've got a problem on your hands, you're new to the neighborhood. And honestly, you're just missing the connections, the 4 years of college that you've known and that have been so comforting to you. And this is where the Cobbles will help you out to find a spot to take you for your first lunch day.
Now, open your eyes. I introduce to you all Cobbles, an app where you can reconnect with your community, share your interests, and inspire your neighbors, and not be that lonely college student. Thank you.
Love the story, love the visualization of it. What do you guys think? Solid? Good pause, okay. Good. All right, group 6, let's go. Cape Cod potato chips.
All right, so the other day I was at the grocery store, just getting fruit and water like any other college student does. And I decided to go get some snacks. And as I'm walking through the aisles, my eyes roll upon the Cape Cod chips and it just brought back all the memories of the great times I've had while I was eating those chips.
I might not be from Cape Cod, but I am from Florida. And if you've been to Florida or Georgia or a few other states, you know what Publix is. And if you know what Publix is, you know what a pub sub is. And if you know what a pub sub is, you know what the perfect complimentary chip is, and that is Cape Cod potato chips. Not once have I gone to the beach without leaving the chip aisle without some Cape Cod potato chips. And now every time I have a potato chip, Cape Cod, all I can think about is the salty water from Miami, Florida. And I know some of you can relate if you're from anywhere else by the beach.
And you can always count on your mom packing those Cape Cod chips, having them in the sand, a little sand gets in, but the crunch is unstoppable. You can eat it.
I I relate to you in a sense. I am from New Jersey and I haven't had a Cape Cod trip until this past summer when I actually went to Cape Cod for the first time and went with my friends. So all I can think about when I see Cape Cod is just having that trip for the first time.
And for example, besides it's my first day here in Massachusetts, hearing all these people having all those memories by just remembering a backup tips makes me realize the need that I have to go buy them and start creating my own.
That could actually be really sad that Massachusetts is still with bags of chips like that, but that is what it is. You know, think about it from a sales perspective, right? Why do we do this? Why do we pick these brands in particular? Number one, you'll meet the CEO of Cobbles, and Joey LaCava is going to be coming in and talking about restaurant sales, talking a little bit about that in this class. He's also going to hopefully provide you guys with some pizzas. Everything has a story. Nick's going to talk a little bit tonight about the Texas Rangers, what he does there, why it's so important. Nick, can you hear us? Give me a thumbs up. Yeah, we got you. So think about his brand. Right? Think about what he does from his perspective and his team of employees and what he has to sell, the story that he tells his customers in order to get people into Arlington Stadium or whatever that stadium is called now, in order to sell these premium suites or whatever it is. There's a story there. Right? We talked a little bit about connecting authentically with customers. Think about how this dovetails well with your customer interactions. You don't just sell pizza, you sell a family. There's a lot more to it than just pizza. It's an establishment, it's a place to go. Shoppers Cafe is family oriented. It's one of the first things that they talk about. Every single brand that you guys look at and buy has a story behind it because they've connected authentically with you, the consumer. Right? If you can do that with your customers, you're going to be able to sell. That's what selling is all about. Adaptive selling, how you connect with people and your customers, how you tell a compelling story. Got it? Awesome. So I want to welcome to the class Nick Richardson. Nick is calling in from, I believe, Arlington, or what part of Texas? Arlington, Texas?
Arlington, Texas, situated about equidistant between Dallas and Fort Worth.
Awesome. So Nick's been a guest in our class for several semesters now. Our story is kind of unique. I'll let him tell it if he wants, but I saw Nick on LinkedIn and I reached out. I said, I love what you're putting out there. I'd love to have you talk to my class at Bentley. And this has been a relationship born out of LinkedIn, to be honest with you. So like last class, I think you got a taste of, with Jeremy, how this class and how these questions and answer sessions go. It's on you to learn about selling and sales. It's not on Nick to teach you guys about what sales is. You guys have gotten that basis. So if you guys have questions for Nick, which all of you should, please raise your hand. I think he can kind of see just about most people, but if you're on the periphery, come up, ask Nick a question, and we'll get right to it. So I'll leave it to you guys to decide, who's got the first question. Let's do it. And thank you, Nick, for coming in tonight. Appreciate you.
My pleasure, my friend.
Hey, Nick, how's it going? Thanks for coming. I'm Carter. I'm a senior here. I'm majoring in marketing. Saw on LinkedIn before coming to class that you're also a marketing guy in your college days. How have you leveraged that in interviews and then, succeeding in your role in sales now?
Man, I haven't interviewed in a long time. But for me, from a sales standpoint, and I think Zev can probably agree, I love folks that are doing degree programs like you guys, but they're few and far between. And so what I look for necessarily instead of a degree when I'm interviewing someone, I look for what type of extracurricular activities and jobs were they involved in while they were in school. Going to school alone is pretty easy. If you're a student athlete, that is a job in itself. So there's a very rigorous schedule behind that. So those are things I like to see. I have yet, well, I don't say yet, I've hired one former student athlete that didn't work out well as a salesperson. They're forced in a lot of uncomfortable situations with a heavy workload at school, trying to pass class for the most part, unless you go to one of these big universities where they're getting paid to play. But I like seeing the on-campus activity. I like seeing jobs in college, such as waiting tables or customer service type of roles, maybe in retail or maybe even a phone customer service type experience. Because at the end of the day, sales is about developing relationships and having conversations and understanding people. And I think if you can pair those experiences with then learning the sales process, you're going to have a leg up on most people. You guys have a great teacher and a great sales program there that is very unique and not like most places. So I'm not trying to toot my buddy Zev's horn by any means, because he's paying me a ton of money for this. I'm going to go ahead and do it anyways. He's preparing you guys way better than most universities do for potential sales jobs. There are more sales jobs out there than anything, and the human-to-human connection is one of the most important pieces to selling a brand. Sure, you can be Amazon and some of these other companies and everything's online. They thrive on quickness and service, but at the end of the day, there's a human component there. So I don't know if that fully answers your question, but I hope it does. I'm not going to say I rarely, I don't use a ton of marketing, but I do interact with the marketing team on a weekly basis. And so me having an understanding of what they do and being able to communicate better with them based on my knowledge of marketing helps us achieve a lot more, because some marketing folks have zero experience in sales. And so being able to take the two, pair them together, and then come up with a good message that we're trying to deliver to our season ticket members or generalized fans, group buyers, suite buyers, etc., is always a benefit.
Perfect, thank you.
My name's Anthony. I'm an Eco-Fi major and I'm a junior.
Well, hold on a second. We're changing him from eco finance to sales.
Let's go. Let's do it.
We'll see. I did start looking for deals internship, so let's see, maybe. My question is, how do you approach a customer?
I try to take it from there's a line in a book that's called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And it says, how do you become interesting to someone? You be interested in them. So I approach a sales situation or just meeting people with a level of interest in who they are, what they like, what they're trying to achieve, and find out information about them, whether it's their business or their personal life. And then I try to attach what I sell or what I do with what they're trying to achieve. As an example, you don't have to be a fan of baseball to own full or half season baseball tickets. But if you're looking for a unique environment because you're a new up and coming business who is trying to attract new customers, and you're looking for a space that's unique to invite customers outside of just your generalized steak dinner, why not come out and do a suite with the Rangers where you have a captive environment, watching a fun sport? You don't even have to be attracted to either team. It's a fun, enthusiastic environment. And the great thing about baseball, in my opinion, it's the best sport to do business at, because it is a little bit of a slower paced game, and you can still carry on quality conversation at a baseball event because there's lulls in the game. There's ebbs and flows and ups and downs. Where in the NFL, it's constantly nonstop loud, and it's on a Sunday and occasionally a Thursday or a Monday. And with baseball, it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And you can have great, and what I've learned over time is Thursdays are some of the best days to do business entertaining, and baseball offers sport most often on Thursdays as opposed to other sports. And so it's a great environment to really build your business and invite out people that may be hard to reach because you're taking them to a high level event. And most people out there do enjoy sports or live events. So I really try to, about them, who they are, what they enjoy, what they're trying to do from a business standpoint, and then see if I can attach what I do to what they're trying to achieve.
Hi, I'm Lily. I'm a senior. I'm a professional sales major. And my question is, when you think of the Texas Rangers, what's the story behind it and what do you sell to potential clients for like the story behind the Texas Rangers and what it all comes down to?
Man, it's historically been coming up short, but I would never sell it that way. So as I'm thinking about the story of the Rangers, do any of you guys know much about Texas as a whole? So Texas is a very proud state. I'm not originally from Texas. I'm originally from Oklahoma. And Oklahoma and Texas hate each other, but they're oddly the exact same human beings. Very proud of their state and their heritage and their history. And I think when you look at that state pride and what it represents, the Lone Star State, the flag is very symbolic of kind of the red, white, and blue America, but at the same time, the uniqueness of the lone state itself. It's the largest intercontinental state. There's a lot of really quality people. Many of you probably don't know, it is almost as far from Dallas-Fort Worth to El Paso, Texas, as it is from El Paso, Texas to San Diego, California. So there's a lot of unique things about the state because of its size. We have America's largest ranch. There's simply a lot of history and pride in the state. And so as I'm kind of telling the Rangers story, we're trying to attach the Southern hospitality and the pride of Texas into what we're doing from a Ranger standpoint. Oftentimes I've heard many people that have visited from out of town tell us, you guys have such great customer service and your folks are some of the nicest people we've ever encountered at a sporting venue. So we try to attach those types of experiences when we're telling the Rangers story. Unfortunately, we don't have a ton of World Series trophies. We have 0. And so we can't really attach to that at this point. But we talk a lot about the hospitality, the positive feeling that you get when you come to a game, how you're appreciated, the yes, sir, yes, ma'am, the thank you for being here. How can I serve you? What can I help you with tonight? I love walking around the ballpark. One of the main things in my purview is handling all the angry season ticket customers. And so, displaying that hospitality, great eye contact, smile on your face, and great body language whenever you're engaging with people, and speed of response as well. Anytime there's a problem, attacking it head on. And I'll give quite an example, and this feeds into not only telling the story, but living the story. I apologize. I've talked so much of late that my voice is not the norm. So I had a lady who's been a season ticket member with us since the 90s call in the other day, and it was a day game. And so I was busy out in the ballpark, but I saw the voicemail, listened to the voicemail. She was upset that we are now charging taxes on our season tickets when we didn't do that in the past. And she has a unique story because her father was an accountant for the Texas Rangers when they moved from Washington, D.C. to Texas. And he was with our front office for some time before he passed. And she, in essence, of course, gave me some of that information and story, and I listened to that and told her how cool that was and how much I appreciated her sharing that with me. But what I'm saying is, from a speed of response standpoint, or getting back to people, is you really have 24 hours. If you don't get back to somebody within 24 hours, you've lost. I usually am much faster than that. I didn't have a window to make a phone call to this lady that one day. And so I called her back the next day, early the next morning. And her husband lost a $10 bet to her because he said I would never call her back, which was, I took a lot of pride in that. And then I took it a step further that night, Friday night. I was at the stadium and I specifically went to her seats to shake her hand and meet her face to face. And so those are some different things I feel like that talk, that pull our brand into what we're doing, and trying to not only tell the story of who we are, but also live that story. And really just sales and service go hand in hand. And here, all of our reps service their accounts, so they don't pass it to a service team. We have all of our reps sell and service because we feel like that allows them to reap the reward of giving great salesmanship and great service by getting referrals and cross-selling other products that we have to offer.
Think about what you guys did tonight and think about what Nick just said. So when he's talking about Texas Rangers, where's baseball in that story? It's secondary, right? Or it could be third or fourth on the list. Customer service, the state of Texas, Southern hospitality and appreciation, looking people in the eye. Does any of that go into baseball? What does that go into? How do you make people feel? Right? That's what sales is all about. It's about how you make people feel, and Nick just nailed it on the head. His job is to make that person feel like the most important person on the planet.
From a sales standpoint, if you help people get what they want fast, you're going to get what you want. And that's the goal, is to be a result-centered salesperson, help people gain what they're trying to gain, whether it's a 20-game plan and it's quality, family date night a couple times a month. If you divide it up, it's what, 3-4 times a month on average, coming out and doing a quality date day or date night at a Rangers game. If they all are, baseball fans or not baseball fans, it's pre-scheduled events for the family. Or, from a large business standpoint, they're looking for an all-in wow experience, and they buy Lexus premium seats that include everything: reserved numbered parking space they pull into every single game, buffet that has carving stations, and a cold bar and salad bar, and then every single ballpark fare item you can possibly imagine, a live guacamole station, and then beer, wine, and liquor all included. On top of that, in-seat service and high back padded seats. So if they give that to a customer that they just sold something to, and they find out, oh, that customer is a big LA Dodgers fan, and the Rangers are playing the Dodgers next year, and they call that customer and say, I can't thank you enough for doing business with us. I know that you're a big Dodgers fan. Which of the 3 Dodgers games do you want to come to next year? I have tickets at the Rangers. And I heard, knowing you're a big Dodgers fan, I'd like to treat you. And they can confidently give that customer tickets and know their parking, their food, beverage, and seats are all taken care of, and the quality of service they're going to get is top level. And so those are some of the experiences that we're trying to help people give their customers. And that's somebody that's already a customer, right, for a business. You can also use it in a similar fashion if you are trying to gain new business. So if I know Zev is a Red Sox fan and he's relocated down here to DFW, and I'm trying to get a meeting with Zev, I call him. I do a little research on LinkedIn to find out where he's from. I stalk him on every social media thing I can find. I watch him on TikTok, and he's got his backwards Boston Red Sox hat on. And I saw him post a picture at a game, and he's talking about his experience there and how much he loved Fenway. And then I turn around, and now I know, he's opening up a branch here in Dallas, Fort Worth. I'm going to call him and say, Zev, I saw you're a huge Red Sox fan. I own tickets here with the Rangers, and I would love to get face to face with you and chat a little bit about what you're doing and what we're doing here. How about we get together a Red Sox game? Well, that Red Sox game may be 3, 4, 5 weeks away, but if I give him those tickets, do you think Zev's going to go date another company and do business with another company while we have a solidified date in hand? Probably not. It's, you know, yeah, some dating experiences aren't good, but good, honest people, when you date them, you're going to get your money's worth, because again, you're developing a slow building relationship over time. And I don't know if I've ever equated selling to dating, but there's a lot of similarities with it.
Hey Nick, how's it going? My name is Gavin Kelly. I'm a senior majoring in sales. My question for you is that I think it's pretty cool that you started as an intern and then went to an AE, into a manager, all the way up to VP. And I'm just curious, you know, what's one thing that you stayed true to throughout your progression in sales? And then my second question for you is where did you get that sharp looking suit?
Love that. So I will equate, I think, my success to a couple of different things. You know, I had a grandfather who it was fantastic. He was a businessman. He ran a small town auto dealership in my hometown. Don't think of these big city dealers where they're selling, you know, 200-300 cars a month. Think of it as if we sold 30-40 cars in a month, we were having some success. And my grandfather did not go to school past the 8th grade. And so watching him and the way he treated people was very important to me. Understanding that he didn't have a high school diploma, yet he could learn new things. And I think, Zev, I sent you one, but I kind of came up with this 3-pronged approach, and I made these little, these little wristbands, and it's I dropped it. Grow daily, live virtuously, and create value. And from my mindset, that is learning something new every day. And the way I do that, I watch content on TikTok. I listen to things on YouTube. I read a lot. I don't do audiobooks because I zone out all the time, but I like to read hard copy books, and add things to my repertoire of knowledge. And I said Rolodex of knowledge in the past, but I don't know if any of you even know what a Rolodex is. So I read a lot. And so that's the grow daily part. Zev and I actually share books back and forth with one another. And so then live virtuously, be who you are all the time, no matter where you're at, just be the same person. My only caveat to that is from a sales approach in doing your job, you can be a little bit of a chameleon. What does a chameleon do? They change to accommodate their environment, right? They don't change who they are. They don't change their makeup, their body. They just change their color, and they adapt to how somebody wants to be sold to or how somebody wants to buy. But be who you are, behind closed doors, in person, no matter what. Live a virtuous life. Be a person of honor. And then really the last kind of third prong there is the create value. I looked at my job as an opportunity to create value for the Texas Rangers every day that I walked in the doors, whether I was an intern or I was coming up in the sales department or now as a vice president. I think of how can I be valuable to this organization? And if I take that approach, and unfortunately not every company is perfect by any means, but if I take that approach, I should organically create value for myself. I've never asked for a raise here. I've never asked for a promotion here, but because of the standard in which I've lived and the value that I've brought to the organization, those opportunities have come. And so that's what I would say has probably been my best approach to progressing through the organization in the little over 18 years that I've been here. I did grow up a Rangers fan. A lot of people ask me, you know, you don't see people staying with one team for as long as you have, or one company for as long as you have. It helps that I grew up a Rangers fan. I really want to be part of this organization when they do bring a championship to this fan base, because they are starved for a championship. And I want to be able to say that I was part of that. Also, pretty cool tidbit, a lot of people don't know, if you work for a Major League Baseball team or the league office 25 years or longer, you get a little metal gold card that you can take and go to any stadium in the country, and it's good for 2 tickets to that game. My goal is to earn that.
Oh, thanks, Nick.
Not far away.
Hey Nick, my name is Eta and I'm an exchange student from Spain, majoring in business and data. And I've always wanted to create my own fashion company, but a lot of people always tells me that it's a very difficult environment, that I can do it, etc. I have read that you turned down 3 full-time jobs in order to be an intern for Texas Rangers, and that you went for your dream. I believe that this is also a very competitive environment. And I wanted to ask you if you ever have faced a situation when someone tells you that you couldn't do anything, and how did you overcome it? Or if not, what would you do if that happened to you at that time when you were about to choose being an intern or having a full-time job?
So I think we'll all face that at some point in our lives, where either somebody we're not close to or somebody we are close to will have doubts. I was in, I think, the 7th or 8th grade, maybe. And I'm going way back here, folks. And there was a girl in my class that I grew up with. And I wasn't great at math. I don't know if I was great at anything. But I worked hard at everything. And, you know, I always felt semi-inferior to other people because I wasn't great at a variety of things. I was kind of a master of nothing. And at the end of the day, I just put my head down and worked hard. And there was one day in class, I'll never forget it. It was math class, and I, again, was not good at math. And I had to go up to the front of the room and try to solve a math problem faster than her, and I beat her. And that was me telling myself I wasn't confident that I was good enough. You're going to deal with that too. That same girl, who I'm friends with still to this day, told me at one point, and I went to a Class A high school and graduated with 43 people, and that was a large class. Most classes were around 20 to 25 students graduating each year. She said one day I was just talking about sports and how much I loved playing, and she's like, yeah, there's no chance you'll ever play a college sport. You're just too small and not good enough. And I don't know if she was just saying that because I beat her ass on the board one day in a math problem, or if she was saying that because she really believed it. And so I went and played junior college baseball and had a chance to play 4-year baseball, and was just worn out and tired. It's a job. I wanted to start making money and doing other things. And, you know, I wanted to live a full college life. And get to hang out with friends and meet new people and be more involved. And when you're a student athlete, sometimes it's very challenging to do that because we were Monday through Friday up at 5 o'clock in the morning doing stuff. We had to swim and tread water or swim laps at lunch. And then we practiced baseball all afternoon if we didn't have games. And then we turned around and had weights in study hall at night. And so there was no room for a normal life. And so I was tired of that and played anyways, though. And then from there, I look back and I don't think of myself as successful. I just think of myself as another guy who's been given some great opportunities. Not that I haven't earned any of them. I try to keep myself very humble, but I look back at some of the people I went to school with, and particularly the two valedictorians of the class in my high school. And I was a 4.0 student, but we had 9 4.0 students out of 43, and they had to go with the actual numerical average to figure out who was going to be a valedictorian and who was going to be a salutatorian. And I was a 94.4, and someone was a 95 or 94.5, and they rounded up to a 95, and we had 4 salutatorians and 2 valedictorians. And I look back at every single one of those people, and no single one of them has achieved what I have in my life. And that's just a little bit of, I think, competitive spirit. Some of that is just a downright desire to achieve and make myself better and impact the people around me in a positive way. At the end of the day, there was a kid that I graduated with, who I'm still good friends with. He wasn't even, he didn't even have a 4.0 average in school. And he's now a state senator. And out of our class, both he and I have probably elevated ourselves to what people would consider the highest level of our class overall, and really, quite frankly, maybe the town I grew up in. And I know this is a long story, but it's more about you just putting your head down and talking and hanging out with the right people. Because if people are naysayers and try to get you not to believe in yourself or tell you can't do something, you should just use that as motivation to do it, and not rub it in their face by any means by saying something to them, but rub it in their face by doing it. I had the good fortune of delivering the graduating high school address 20 years after my graduation to the day. And none of those other people have been able to do that. And so looking back at that, I take a lot of pride in that. So it's a message of telling these kids that they can do anything they want. I mean, not everybody's capable of doing everything, but I would tell you, don't listen to that. Surround yourself with quality people, and you're going to be going where you want to go versus where they are telling you you can go.
Hi, sir. My name is Sal Lapoli. My major is management, and I have a minor in leadership and a concentration in entrepreneurship. Sir, I was wondering, you talked a little bit about you playing college baseball, and you're surrounded by athletes, the highest level of athletes every single day. So I was wondering if you could explain a little bit of the lessons that you learned from you playing baseball, and the lessons that you learned from being surrounded by these elite athletes, and how you bring those lessons that you learn from sports into your life every day, such as work.
Sure. I think a lot of it starts with failure, especially in baseball. If you think of it, and you're failing 80% of the time if you're pretty good. You're failing 70% of the time if you're a Hall of Famer. If you hit 300, you're incredible. And a lot of those guys that average a 300 batting average over their career wind up in the Hall of Fame. And so understanding failure and how to compartmentalize it appropriately, you're going to deal with that in life, period. But you're especially going to deal with that in sales. If you close 30% of the people you call, quite frankly, I think Zev would feel like job accomplished, because you're either got somebody feeding you some really warm leads, or you're just a machine, because that's really abnormal in overall close rate. But I think another thing is you have to be very diligent, work hard when other people aren't. If you want to earn a starting spot, or you want to put on an extra 10 or 15 pounds of muscle, or whatever it takes to take yourself to the next level, there's work that has to be done outside of 9 to 5, right? So my job isn't 9 to 5, and I don't clock in and clock out. I'm a salaried employee. And so while some of our reps have to clock in and clock out because of state laws, sometimes I do work. Trust me, I have a great work-life balance. Don't get me wrong. There's never a such thing as a true balance, if you will. Sometimes you're going to be working more, and sometimes you're going to be spending more time with your family, but trying to seek balance is important. But owning your calendar, owning your schedule, being extremely organized, because you're going to have to do that to pass your classes, to stay on the team, and to make sure you're everywhere you need to be when you need to be there. You have to own your calendar. And that has helped me tremendously as far as coaching reps and keeping myself where I need to be when I need to be there. Because if I'm late to an appointment with a customer, that's sloppy, and I'm going to miss that sale probably. If I'm home late, I better have communicated that with my wife. Or if I have a parent-teacher conference or something like that, I got to be there. And so really owning your calendar, staying organized, staying on top of everything that's going on, and that can potentially be overwhelming. But if it doesn't live in my calendar, it doesn't exist. And that's one thing I think I learned playing college sports, is to stay on top and be the best. You have to stay organized and stay diligent with everything that you're doing day in and day out.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sophie. I'm an exchange student from Germany. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay, perfect. So my question, first of all, thank you for being here.
absolutely.
That if I understand correct, you're teaching or coaching younger salesmen or salespeople now. So my question would be, what's the biggest mistake or the most common mistake these young salesmen make? And what's your number one advice you give them?
Man, I would say most common mistake is probably more from a personal standpoint than a professional standpoint when it comes to new reps. And at least in our business, we have 81 regular season home games and usually 2 exhibition games. And where I see reps fail the most, and they learn from it, of course, is they want a personal life as well as a professional life. But early on, when you're trying to build your career, you don't have that wiggle room to put important games to the side. Let me give a quick example. I have a rep this weekend who his family, and I told my family early on, I'm growing a career here. If you want me to be at some sort of family event, you need to plan it around the Rangers schedule, because I was going to be here long term, and I was going to grow into a leadership position with this company. And so I made some sacrifices, and you're going to have to do that. But where I see reps fail more often than not is they don't go check on their customer when they're out here at the game. They do all the sales stuff right leading up to the event. And then, you know, mom and dad, because they're single and not married and young, and hey, I'm going to pay for you to go on a vacation with us in San Francisco. Well, it's on a game date, or it's on a game weekend. And they'll come in, and of course they'll get a sideways look from me, but I'll let them go because I know they're about to learn a lesson. And so, just like expected, this young man He went to San Francisco with his family and had a couple of other reps check on 2 events that he sold this past weekend. One of which had a ticket issue that turned into me having to give an autographed ball to the person who coordinated the event. And then the other one was a food issue, which turned into me having to swipe my P card for $1,000 and give an autographed ball because the food order didn't get turned in, which I would have probably had to do that anyways, but he was not here to put that customer at ease. Another rep was trying to do it while that guy's probably sitting there wondering why in the heck his salesperson wasn't there. I think that's probably the biggest issue is not being committed to your craft and not being fully committed to your organization when your growth is so small at the time to get to where you want to go and give you more freedom. You have to be super organized and own everything that you do. And I think that's where most people go wrong. And I think that's probably self-explanatory as to what advice I would give. And then there was a question I didn't answer that I apologize. Man, I'm cheap. I am like super, super cheap. And so I find bargain deals. I go shop and dig, and I find bargain deals on sport coats and different things like that. So I got this coat from Men's Warehouse. I went online, and a matter of fact, one of my sales reps came in and asked me if I would speak to Stephen F. Austin University. They were out here. He went to SFA, and they were out here for a group outing the other day. Well, their colors are purple and white. They just scored 98 points in a football game this past weekend, which is kind of absurd. But I felt bad because I was like, man, I like to dress up for those types of things, but I don't have anything purple. And so I went online. I was like, man, I need a purple plaid sport coat that I could wear to this. And I went on, I Googled it, and up comes this great looking purple plaid sport coat. Well, I clicked on it and it took me to Men's Warehouse, and this jacket also popped up. And so for $220, I got 2 sport coats sent to my house, and they were there in 2 days. And so here we are. And I bargain shop, and I bargain shop shoes. I'll go in and I'll sign up for an email list. I'll put things in my cart and I'll let them sit there. And you guys know, internet marketing. Guess what I'm going to get a couple days later? Hey, you left something in your cart. Here's a $15 coupon. And I'll go and take it out of my cart. And then a month later, hey, this jacket that you wanted or these shoes you wanted, here's they're on sale now for $55, and here's a 20% off coupon. Sign me up, I'll buy it. It's the right price, I'll swipe the card.
Hey, Nick, Dom DePauli, senior business management major here, also a football player and big time sports junkie. Given the highly competitive nature of the sports industry, I feel like everyone I know wants to get into it to some extent. What's something that I can do to differentiate myself when looking for these jobs apart from being a student athlete?
Sure. I love this question. And I think this can be used for any job, but in particular the sports industry. And let me give you guys some quick stats real fast, okay? From a hiring standpoint, and this is going to go into your question specifically. I took over the management role of our sales department from a hiring standpoint in July of 2014. In that time, I've had 2,741 people apply for a job within the department. I've only interviewed 351 people, and I've hired only 45. And that sounds like a lot, but it's not. So if you apply, you've got about a 13% chance of getting an interview. If you just apply, you have a 1.6% chance of getting a job. So how do you stand out? In my opinion, you start to digest the pros and cons of what you have to offer and your experience. You digest the pros and cons of the different teams and the cities you potentially want to live in or work for. And then you begin to reach out to those people that are in hiring manager positions or those teams. And most people in the sports industry will give you the time of day, especially on like LinkedIn or different messaging. If you handwrite them, I tell everyone, and I'm not telling you guys this so that I get, 50 handwritten thank you notes, but if somebody gives you their time, I would highly encourage you to look up their address and send them a handwritten thank you note, because that's going to differentiate you massively from the herd of people that shoot over an email just to say thank you. Because that took 5 seconds, when actually pulling out, looking up my address, handwriting a nice note and putting it in the mail and sticking a stamp on there takes a lot more time than that. And so that's going to be more meaningful to me if I'm looking at potentially hiring you in the future, because you took the time to do something out of the box that not everybody else is doing. You're going to run into people that won't respond to you, but what I would say do is go on, for instance, if you go to texasrangers.com and you take your mouse, and across the top is a red bar, and every team has it. Every major league team has this bar. It could be navy, could be blue, could be red, could be whatever color their team color is. And it says stats and for us, Globe Life Field, tickets, news, all kinds of things across the top. Well, one of them says roster. If you hover your mouse over the roster, it'll have a drop-down box. Well, guess what's in that drop-down box? Front office. You click on front office and it will bring up every single person that works in the front office. And so if there's a particular role that you're looking to do, why not reach out to that person? And oftentimes you can Google whatever the domain is for an email address for a different organization, figure it out. Mine's in Richardson. So everybody in the Rangers is probably first initial, last name at texasrangers.com. Email them directly. If they ignore you, you probably didn't want to work for them anyways, but most people will respond. They may not respond as fast as I do historically, or as fast as some other people do, but you're at least showing them, especially if you want to be in sales, you're doing what a sales rep is doing, hunting and reaching out. That's what I would encourage you to do. I too, and I'm not trying to get, I don't want you guys to think of me any differently for saying this, but I like more of a country lifestyle. I live in a small city about 45 minutes south of here called Midlothian, Texas. It's about 60,000 people that live there. I like to shoot guns. I don't hunt, but because I don't like to get up that early and sit out in the cold weather. I like to shoot guns. I like to do a little martial arts. I like to learn different things. I carry a gun. I am a licensed personal protection officer. So what most people would think is an armed bodyguard. I do different things like that, and not every city in America is super friendly with that. So me and Chicago may not go well together. Me and DC may not go well together. And so I have to think about who I am, how I want my kids to grow up, what type of experience I want in my life to determine potentially what place I want to work. So think about that. Now, I'm not saying you can't bite the bullet for a short time and get some experience in a city, But at the end of the day, you also need to be joyful about what you do for a career. So what are the pros and cons about different cities that would make you want to look at living there, and then go after those people hard, go after those cities hard. So don't judge me, but I like to shoot guns.
Last question.
Hi, Nick. Thank you for coming in. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's a little quiet, but I can.
So my name is Liz. I'm a senior and I'm a management major. So I noticed that you turned down 3 full-time jobs just to get an intern at Texas Rangers. So I want to know what was the motivation for that, and why sales instead of marketing? Because it's like a perfect example for like choosing something that is so different from what you're studying in college to be in your career.
Absolutely. So I had a job in retail management. I had a job in restaurant management, and I had a marketing job for a bank. And I looked at that and I said, you know what? These are all jobs to me that will probably be here after this internship. If I don't take this internship, I think and believe that I would forever look back at it and say, man, what if? I wanted to remove the what if. I was young and not tied down to anything. And I knew that, you know, the older I get, the less opportunities there are going to be to transition or make some massive transition, you know, depending on wife and kids and different things like that. So it was a window of opportunity that's, you either take it or you potentially look at it as like, I shoulda, coulda, woulda, and I didn't. And so that was pretty easy decision for me, knowing that at the end of the day, I believed in myself that I could learn and do another job, or another job opportunity would present itself if I did not earn a full-time job off of this internship. So that was the approach I took from a mindset standpoint of taking the internship versus the full-time job. It was also unique. I knew absolutely nothing about the sports industry. And I wanted to go learn about it and say, you know, at the end of the day, I could always say I interned for the Texas Rangers and the team that I grew up a fan of. And then as far as marketing versus sales, I'm not going to lie, sales found me. I interned, I came in here. My goal was to earn a full-time job. I met everyone I could. I smiled. I had a positive attitude. If I was asked to clean the storage room, I cleaned the storage room. If I was asked to move boxes, I moved boxes. You name it, I was willing to do it. I ran the manual scoreboard that used to be in our old ballpark one July night, and it was about 105 degrees behind that scoreboard. But I did it because I knew that I wanted to prove that I was willing to do anything it took to earn their trust and earn a full-time position with the Rangers. And towards the end of my internship, our VP of sales at the time came to me and he said, I really enjoyed when you interned in the sales department for a short time. What do you want to do for a career? And I said, you know, sir, I'm just trying to learn as much as I can. I said, I don't have any particular area that I am most interested in. I simply wanted to learn as much as I could through this internship as possible and create as much value for this organization as I could. And he said, well, you ever been in sales before? I said, well, no. I said, here's what I have done. I've waited tables. I worked at the fitness center on campus every morning at 5 a.m. after I quit playing baseball. So I've engaged with people at their worst. The faculty members, they didn't want to be up teaching. Not Zev, that's not Zev. The students, they didn't want to be up working out, especially if they were athletes. They would rather sleep. And so I was, you know, dealing with the worst of people. And then I worked in retail. And it's a lot, returns and different things. So dealing with human beings is what I had experience doing. And I said, if you give me some handles, I can do it. He said, perfect. You start on Monday. And that's how my sales career started.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for the questions, and most importantly, let's all give Nick. Nick, don't think that I don't have circled in my calendar September 18th, 19th, and 20th. The Sox are playing the Rangers in Texas. It might be a nice opportunity for the professor of sales to come down and do some TikToks with you. Who knows?
Brother, you need to come see me. You need to come see me.
I know, we'll make that happen, 100% next year, but thank you so much for coming in and zooming in tonight. Take some throat lozenges, long evening, appreciate you big time, all right?
Absolutely. You guys take care. Thank you very much.
All right, so guys, next week, here's what we got. All right, so we got Read Chapter 7 in Manning. You're gonna watch this movie called The Salesman, right? We talked a lot about how you connect with different people. There's 4 distinct personalities. I want to know who you seem most like. So synopsis is going to be on this movie, The Salesman. The YouTube clip is right here. We're going to build a spaghetti tower next week, right? We talked about that on night 1. Sue can build the biggest spaghetti tower. Our guests are Ed Loeb and Sean Penix is going to be zooming in from the Dallas Cowboys. All right, a little bit of a different look next week. And then we're off the following Monday because of Columbus Day. All right. Any questions, comments, concerns? You guys have a good class tonight? Yes. Yeah. Sorry, it's 9:05. Apologize. Yeah.
Yeah. Just next week,
Just do the synopsis based on the salesman move. Okay. Yes. Yes. Anything you need.
Ready?